Hello and welcome back for our semi-final match of the night. My name is Arius, and still joining us is Goose, who just watched the previous matchup where SSG won 2-0 over Osiris, and now they'll have to face off against Aerial Rise, the other invited team from this side of the bracket, which, interestingly enough, it's both the invited teams on this side and then the non-invited teams on the other side. So, Goose, how are you feeling about this one going into this?
I'm feeling good. I'm excited, but a little worried about Aerial Rise. Because, SSG Academy is a really good roster. I like them. Their previous matchup, what they played in Goose Chase, they beat Aerial Rise 2-0. And the thing is, the roster was the exact same. And of course, if you're not aware of the complete roster mania, Aerial Rise has been, I wouldn't say in shambles, but they are a completely different roster after Poison left. So it could be a 2-0, but also it's kind of in the air because, with a new roster like that, after a week, we could see a complete different result.
I mean, and speaking of just the overall roster mania, I'd like to get into Aerial Rise's roster just to see who's even all playing tonight, considering the fact that, like you said, it's been a roster mania for them. Only 2/5 of the overall roster is still left over. We've got Bino, Bay, Inrio, Giddy, and Packer joining us for the night. And just overall, I'm very interested to see because I think in Packer's interview, they said that they're not necessarily going into this with the most strategy in mind. It's all just about showcasing their skills, hoping to show things off for when the next stage of Pro League comes along. They'll be picked up by a team, hopefully, or at least until the major quals happen. So otherwise, have done very well for themselves in the very first matchup against Valkyrie, where I believe these stats are flipped instead. Defense is at an 80%, and their attacking rate is at a 55%, which is just phenomenal on both sides of the board. That's just, overall, can't ask for much more than that.
No, you can't ask for much more. Not only a 50%, but a 55% on attacking is just, really great. And it just goes to show, how those individual players are really good. But for SSG Academy, these percentages are also not right. I'm not sure of the exact ones, but we're seeing somewhat of the exact same SSG Academy roster that we saw in E2, minus, as you can notice, TrevMac is gone and Barring is back. The man himself is being gone for about a year or two, but he's back, and so far, he looks like he's been adding a whole lot to SSG Academy. Just a little background information, Barring is not a mainstay. He is not in a new edition yet. He's in a trial period currently right now, so SSG Academy players just kind of feeling how he is, and so far, from their very first game in XGS at all, 2-0 against Osiris, it looks like it's going relatively really well. But going into these map bans, we're going to be seeing Border, Chalet, and Oregon, just like we saw SSG Academy just play. And a little caveat, a little bit of information, just Tuesday of this week, SSG Academy actually played Chalet against Aerial Rise and beat them 7-5. So SSG Academy bringing that map out yet again makes complete sense. And Aerial Rise throwing a bit of a curveball, bringing out that border map, and then Oregon, the definition of a even-sided playing ground.
It's overall just the exact same as before, except you flipped the first two maps, so you're just getting a bit of deja vu, I guess. I mean, overall, it's just like, wait, did we change anything? Is this the same team? Whatever. But just a little bit of extra information because we didn't actually get to see it for SSG. They had a 42% attacking win rate and then a 75% defensive win rate. So overall, fairly kind of same-ish, except their attacks are just a little bit worse. But those were both very close games. They kind of made it harder for themselves on map 2, albeit because they went up 5 rounds and then made it way harder than they should have on the other half of things. But I digress. We just saw them play this map. You just saw it as well. Yeah. So going into this, what are your kind of thoughts on how they should be shaking things up? Like, what are the lessons that they need to change from not really throwing 5 rounds in a row and making it way harder?
It's their attack. When they switched gears, when they were in that transition period going into the second half in attack, that is why they struggled. That is why they gave around 5 rounds to Osiris, not to take too much away from them, but at the end of the day, SSG Academy was just making a lot of mistakes, especially in the late round when they were losing man count based to hero plays in flanks from the side of Osiris. And for the side of Aerial Rise, you have no time to study their map. So honestly, in my opinion, this actually more favors SSG Academy because you just played this map and you know exactly the mistakes you made. And not only that, you're warmed up and you're very comfortable going to the exact same map back to back.
Yeah, that's definitely a very good point because they're already warmed up. They haven't had to like cool off that much. It's only been about 15 minutes since we last saw them. So overall, definitely looking like SSG has the favor for now, especially starting back on the defense. But granted, it's kind of similar to how Rise like to play this map. Granted, this is still they're still kind of carrying over their map pool from Element. They really like Club and Border, not so much Chalet and Oregon, but we'll kind of have to see how they play going into those maps. But still, a lot of the similarities, but also a lot of differences at the same time for Ariel. So I'm expecting this to be a very even map overall, but SSG, I think, will carry over some of that momentum going into this game, but we'll just have to see how much of that momentum actually carries over, or if we're just both completely wrong and Aerial Rise are just going to be stomping them on attack.
We could see that. And as I said before, even, with that earlier matchup this week on Tuesday with a 2-0, especially on a map like Chalet that we're going to see again, it still is a toss up because you have not only such a new roster, and, it only takes a couple days for teams, a new roster, especially with these caliber of players, to figure things out, but also you have Packer, a pro league level player. And not only a pro league level player, he wasn't on a bum team like
Defenders,
Beast Coast
protect
at
your
the
bombs
time.
from being
He was
defused by
on
attackers.
Wildcard with Merc, with Spirits, and they almost actually qualified for the Atlanta Major. So it's
Mhm.
not like he's just, one of those pro players that just gets, one season opportunity that he wasted. He's a really good player, and he most likely will find his way back into the league later this year. So Packstar, or Packer rather, is going to give a lot of, I wouldn't say momentum, but a lot of knowledge, a lot of, really hearts. He's going to be that rock that holds down Aerial Rise. But the thing is, did they have enough time to mesh to actually play against SSG Academy? Because what
10
we've seen
seconds
so
remaining.
far, not only with the roster mania and SSG Academy, aside from one roster move somewhat
5
staying
seconds left.
change, they find themselves as somewhat of the top two, maybe even the best team in T2 currently going into E3, and before that, major quals later this month.
And I mean, just considering how they played against Valkyries, it seemed like even though they've had such a small time together, they still seem to be firing on all cylinders. Rounds they lost were just small, tiny mistakes that Valkyrie were able to capitalize on. So even though they haven't been together long, they still have the basic fundamentals. And it does seem that they're trying to go think about things very quickly. They're setting up for a rush over towards that Archives doorway, with Packer just being a distraction on the complete opposite end of the map. So SSG need to be careful of this, and Packer's already given away his position, but things are starting to heat up now.
And they're going in for a really quick plant. Woos on that Monty, getting that bomb down, shielded by the smoke. Bill, the C4 does come out, but it's just too late. While Woos is still gone, you still have three players in Bay on that Laz holding this position very tightly, but two players slip by into the corner. That's not where the defuse is. Aim Key gets yet another kill, but Dino gets two, one to his gun and one to his claymore, but Aim Key running out, paired by Barring. It's all now up to Packer in a 1v2, but it doesn't matter because Barhin strikes him down in a 2-0 fashion, going to get this bomb defused in the first
Defenders
round,
disable the diffuser.
going to SSG Academy,
Defenders win.
completely just retaking and salvaging that rush plant that Aerial Rise tried but failed with.
I mean, they were set up in very good positions, I think. It really just kind of hurt themselves that they lost Woos, who, after the plan does get confirmed, he just taken out by a C4. If he is still up, he can be a little bit of distraction, sit in the corner and just kind of sit there while SSG swarm the bomb site trying to retake. Because otherwise, Packer is just having to do so much. If he's with the main push, he can maybe hold off some more of those cutoffs. Maybe they're not allowed to run right at Aerial Rise right after that plan gets confirmed. I like the idea of him kind of being that backstab, be a bit of a
Attackers need to
distraction.
locate and
That
defuse
leaves the
bombs.
other end towards Archives a little bit weaker due to the fact that he's not with the rest of his team. So they have to make sure that they don't lose every single gunfight that SSG are doubling up on, because they are expecting that. They are doubling up, knowing that they have to retake this as a team. They cannot afford any mistakes doing so. So even though they let that plant down, SSG know how to play that as a team and as a collective force to retake that bomb site and get that counter.
Bomb located
Not
by
only do they
attackers.
know how to play, but Exosiris literally did that exact same plant and then another rush plant on this same map 30 minutes ago. So SSG Academy just in a great position, and I had a question going into this game, and it's been answered. It doesn't look like Arial Rise even knows that SSG Academy just played this map. Warranted. You're not going to be watching what everything the team does, so it actually does look like that Arial Rise coming into this matchup doesn't have a whole lot of knowledge that rather SSG Academy may have onto them. But nonetheless, around that almost did work. It did come down to a 3v2, which eventually went down into a 2v1. Just very bad positioning. But it's going to be up to Arial Rise to really just adapt and change their playstyle, just really make SSG Academy really uncomfortable. And that's what worked for Exercise in just the game before, but it's going to be Aimkey almost getting a kill, but it's Arial to get the first pick onto Barring. It is now your Oryx and Roper God, but it doesn't matter because Aimkey finds his way right onto Balcony, getting a first pick, but just not realizing Packer was in front of that doorway. Packer eventually answering back, and now SSG Academy down one man, and Arial Rise in a 4v3.
I mean, they've already given up so much of the key map control that they wanted to hold on to, though Bill is already starting to swing out. Missed an opportunity to get a player on that balcony. He just looked the wrong way. So that little bit of aggression to try to get the man count back to even, unfortunately, just looks the wrong way. Doesn't even matter, though. He just takes Inrio's head off from a very long angle. I don't know how you get that shot up, but now it's back to a 3v3. Maintains that control for just the time being, but things are starting to heat up over towards this office side with a player down below towards that East Teller's area.
All three of the Arial Rise players are foaming at the mouth. They are just on the gates of this top hold in Armory, just trying to find these players. JetCon is lit up a little bit. Packer finding his way, weaseling his way through, backed up by Bay. Now Packer's found his way into lockers, just trying to find JetCon, but it's Packer to find JetCon instead. But it doesn't matter because Vocal, while he does get an impact, it's actually followed up previously by Bino, and now Vocal all alone in a 1v2. Packer knows that he's in sight, but he doesn't know of the exact position. They're now well aware of where both of each other are, but the thing is, Vocal has to worry about the player upstairs. He may not be aware of Packer putting down the bomb. Surely he's going to be able to get the bomb down, but he doesn't see the player from Bay. Bay shutting it down and tying it up for Arial Rise 1-1.
And that's just raw aggression coming in from Arial. They're just swarming every single bit of control that they needed in that earlier round. Put pressure onto Aimkey in the middle of break room, and then pressure out that eastbound player at the same time. Makes it to where you already have a good bit of presence over towards that office side, and then you can just force your way in towards 90, and over towards that triple wall. Granted, you already lost one player, but we're immediately trading upon that. Things started to slip up a little bit towards this top floor take, but still, they are very clinical about the way they do it. They know that if they place themselves in the right positions, they can get that kill, even if one of them dies in the process. So their trade game so far has been on point for Arial Rise. SSG, though, just seem to be a little bit more isolated, kind of on their own. Have to rely on bigger plays to kind of stay within that round, but otherwise, just gave up too much control way early on, and it made it harder for them to hold on to key pieces that they really needed for that late round.
Going into our third round for SSG's defense in the first half, we're going to be finding ourselves in Archives and Bathroom, and it looks like they're going to still be putting all of their cards, or rather half of their deck, into this upstairs hold. SSG Academy still really leaning into this really utility utilized, off-site presence, and sure, it did get them around, but last round when they actually had to deal with those attackers in the first half, they had to struggle with it. Eventually resulted in them losing that second round. So it's going to be up to SSG Academy to, yet again, what we've seen them continue to do, not only in previous games and previous leagues, but in today so far, just really adapt. But it's actually Bay to adapt his line of sight onto Focal's head to get the very first pick. And now, I'm going to ignore that, but Woos follows it back up with a nice headshot onto JetCon. And now SSG Academy, yet again, find themselves in a man disadvantage early in the round, and only a minute left, not even a minute on. You have two players from SSG Academy, and not only that, but two utility heavy players, that C4 and those Legion mines that were going to be recharged, now all gone, but Barring in a very good position, trying to find this kill. He's aware that there is a player here. He is getting pings. He just has to swing. He gets one and he gets two big kills onto Arial and Bay, and he saves the round and puts his team back in a 3-3 even man count.
Oh, that's big going into the halfway point of the round because, like you're saying, it's just all of a sudden everything was going the way of Aerial Rise. Things were starting to just fall apart for their top floor presence, but Barring just getting those 2 kills makes it even, and now makes it to where there's less of a just need to get aggressive later in the round. But Packer gets another one onto Phil, puts him back into the man advantage. With them now completely out of the bomb site, if Aerial Rise notice this, they can just drop down the hatch, get another plant down, while SSG have to get aggressive onto these stairs, find that next pick back.
With only about a minute left, Bruce is aware of the position of Barring. Barring knows he's being droned out and pressured, so he's going to opt to fall back to site to support his teammate of Aimkey. Aimkey, without his C4, isn't going to be able to get an explosive kill from below, so he's going to have to rely on finding the head of the players. And right now, that's exactly what Aerial Rise is doing, setting up the vertical, trying to find at least one head to put themselves in a 3v1. So they don't have to push site in an uncomfortable position, that being a 3v2, but it doesn't matter because Barring gets a triple, his 3rd for the round, that onto Woos, and now with only 30 seconds left, Aerial Rise lose that man count and find themselves in a 2v2, and they still don't have any intel and any idea of where the positions of these last 2 SSG Academy players. But Packer, making his way, edging his way into sight, has found himself a position to potentially put down the bomb. That's exactly what he's going to be doing, but Aimkey is going to be retaking upstairs, trying to find Bino on the hatch, but it doesn't matter because Bino gets Barring, trying to swing onto that panting player. Aimkey dropping down hatch, potentially trying to find, does find Packer, but Bino's still upstairs. I'm not exactly sure where he was, and he was almost found it, but eventually he did find it, and that is the 2nd round for. Yeah.
That's just as close as you can possibly make for that entire round. I mean, Aerial Rise, I kind of talked about it in the pregame, is that small little mistakes make it to where it's a lot harder for them to win these rounds, but otherwise they have the fundamentals to get into it, because now they have 3 plants through 3 rounds. That is a 100% plant rate so far in this game. You'd almost never see that. And in fact, we never saw them try to go for a plant, period, in their game against Valkyrie. So they're emphasizing the objective so far in this series. And right now, SSG starting on the back foot almost nearly every single round, trying to play catch up, but just their raw gunplay so far that we've been seeing is just on point for both of these teams. It's just a matter of who really comes out at the very end of things. Right now, it's Aerial Rise who are just that much better as it comes down to things. Bino at 5 kills with Packer on 4 behind him. Right now, just things for SSG, they need to kind of not throw the early rounds and just not let Aerial get those entry picks, because so far, pretty sure Aerial Rise are like 3-0 on that, except for like, actually no, they're 2-1 so far. So really, it comes down to just their opening picks and just not really having that advantage secured in the very beginning and having to work their way from there.
It really does look like Aerial Rise has taken control of this game, forcing SSG Academy to play a completely different style of game. As you said, 3 plants so far for Aerial Rise, and if you look at the game SSG Academy just played, out of 2 maps, there was just 2 plants, and in 3 rounds in the first map, we already have 1 more plant in the entire first series. Bay gets the first kill. Woo's almost finding a pick, a refrag onto Barring. Barring trying to go out, but it doesn't matter because Woo's in the position to stop him. Stop him is exactly what he does. And now SSG Academy, for the 2nd round in a row, with not even a minute left, they find themselves in a 3v5, forced to fall back, and now Aerial Rise continuing to have a complete hold on this map in this game.
I mean, and SSG, again, just having to play from behind nearly consistently every single round. I mean, Aimkey's still sticking around in break almost because he has to. He needs to find at least 1 pick to make it a 4v3 for Aerial Rise. Otherwise, just things need to kind of be established for SSG on what they're holding. Bill's going to try to go for a hop out in office, but he's not going to find anything for it. Aimkey does eventually find one. His position is known in break. he is going to be very quickly pounced upon, I would imagine, by Ariel, and there it is. There's Inrio hopping in that CC window, getting the kill onto Aimkey as revenge.
Who's holding a position onto Vile, but just misses the shots. Vile escaping with his life, but losing so much health. Who's also losing a lot of health too. But the thing is, for SSG Academy is they have a minute left still. Vile does find a pick onto Woo's, backed up by Focal.
Wait,
onto Bino, and now they find themselves on an even man count in a 2v2. Inrio pushing up behind, trying to get just one man to get that man advantage back. 50 seconds left. He's a swing and sees the player on the side of Focal and wins the gunfight, and now Vile on such low health in a 1v2 is not aware of the position of Bay, and Bay wins that gunfight and puts his team up 3-1.
I mean, it almost just seems like Arial have a better understanding of how they need to play in order to counter what SSG is throwing at them, because throughout that entire round, it's just like, okay, we get the first 2 opening picks, we're just winning our gunfights over towards East, and then have an understanding that Aimkey is gonna still be aggressive. Sure, yeah, you give up 1 pick, but Inrio's already ready to counter that. He's not gonna be expecting a player hopping in CC because no one there is covering it for SSG. He's just allowed to walk in, take that gunfight onto Aimkey, get that revenge. Now, they make it a lot harder on themselves, making it down to a 2v2, but they still collapse upon each other, making sure that they double up and make sure the SSG have no real chance of winning that round. So far, Arial's fundamentals ever so slightly in the advantage, but SSG fighting back as best as they can, but they just can't seem to find the winning formula outside of round number 1.
Not finding their footing, and going into this map, just SSG Academy just coming off playing the exact same map, we thought they would have had a better time. And speaking of the map they just played on defense, out of all things, they had a 5-1 half, but they're not going to be able to get anywhere close to that man count. And Arial Arise actually has solidified themselves at least a even round count going into the second half. Potentially could get a 4-2 half, but SSG Academy, if they can scrounge back 2 rounds, ideally you would prefer a 4-2, but going off down 2 rounds, if they could win these next 2 rounds, that'd be a great save. But the thing is, they have to find an answer to this aggression in these early entry picks from Arial Arise, and that answer has to be just not giving it to them and actually taking it away from Arial Arise.
I mean, yeah, that's the kind of the biggest thing for me right now. You've lost the last 3 rounds for the opening pick. Outside of round 1, where it's just a C4 kill that killed the planter after it was already confirmed, that's your only opening pick. So you need to find a way to kind of secure those opening picks, not give it away over, and then also not giving up 2 in the process. They need to secure that round advantage and then just keep it from there. Don't give up any aggressive mistakes to Arial Rise, because they're a team that will very quickly punish you if you make the smallest one so far.
And mistakes SSG Academy has been making, Arial Rise been able to punish it, but so far, Vile actually coming out with the very first pick onto Bay. That is now your flashbangs gone and your Lion utility also gone. And so far, it doesn't necessarily look like Arial Rise is in a position to get the refrag. Sure, they do have the intel that C4 not going to do a whole lot. Woos getting the refrag, Aaron getting very aggressive, but it doesn't matter because it's Focal to come up, answered back by Vile, and now it's all up to Packer in a 1v3, and Focal finishes off and puts SSG Academy just one round away from tying it all up.
Much better round, much better overall. They seem to have a better idea of, okay, Arial Rise are walking in top east. They're gonna be expecting those gunfights over towards break and towards office. We know how to counter this. We just need to be a little bit more passive, at least have a better information on when we need to swing. They have the information that there's just going to be everyone on top east. Guy swings from down below. You guy swings from office area and break at the same time. So you just collapse upon Arial before they even get a chance to really set any sort of play up, and you completely shut down that attack. Arial Rise just could not get anything established overall, and just were looking like they couldn't really deal with the aggression that was being brought out, because the last few rounds, you've been shutting them down before they even get a chance to be that aggressive. So SSG having a bit more time and a little bit more presence to be like, okay, we can settle this down. We can shut them down if we have the information behind it, because Valk has been brought almost very often, but IQ at the same time has been brought up by Arial Rise almost every single time they've seen it. So it hasn't really come into effect outside of that round, so just need to keep playing around that information and secure those advantages.
Yeah, SSG Academy playing a little bit more, I wouldn't say passive, but more reserved in that round, making
Yeah,
sure they
that's what it
didn't
is.
over-aggress, didn't go for those runouts, didn't actually swing onto windows or doors that Aerial Rise were shooting out just literally to just push back. They weren't even going for kills, and they were just honestly in those two previous rounds before the round we just watched that they won, they're just giving away picks they didn't necessarily need to put those players in positions. But yet again, SSG Academy looks like they have finally found their footing, but the answer is, will it be Aerial Arise to take the 4-2 half, or will it be SSG Academy to bounce back with 2 rounds in a row to tie it up? Because remember, they still have to go into their attacking half, which statistically, while they have had a 55% win rate on attack, it's not exactly favored on this map, and they just lost 5 rounds on it the map before 30 minutes ago.
Hmm. Much slower take overall by Aerial Rise. They haven't been able to find anything for the first minute of this round so far, so trying to establish some pressure over towards break room and office area, just figuring out where the easiest pathway is. So now at this point, Barring just still down below, trying to put some pressure on wherever he gets called by his teammate to C4 from below. But right now, Aerial Rise aren't really pressing that advantage. Ruse is going to be the first one going in towards that balcony area, but Foco's ready to take that gunfight, but misses almost just entirely, but he sprays through the wall and does a little bit of damage to him.
Yeah, damage is all he's going to get now. Aerial Rise, somewhat of a standstill, but it doesn't matter because Vile finds the head of Woos and shuts that IQ down. And yet again, for the second round in a row, the first pick goes to Aerial Rise, or SSG Academy otherwise, but Packer answers back and ties up the man count 4-4. Still trying to clear out this utility and intel from SSG Academy, but they've wasted so much time and they still don't have control of offices over here. You still have Vile throwing out the C4. It's not going to be enough, but it's going to be his gun to actually get the kill. Being pushed out by that nade. Going to be caught out from Bay. Baron entering back. Bay entering back with a second. Yet again, that's his second for this round. And now it's all up to Vino and Bay. But it's Bay to get his triple kill onto Barring. And now it's all up to JetCon. JetCon is found out. Damage is going to be taken, but he's going to be able to save his life. Now, with 30 seconds left, JetCon in a position to potentially retake and do a backstab on to Aerial Rise, but Bino is aware that he may be coming around. JetCon is going to opt to actually go towards Found. Does hear Bino go down 90 hallway, getting shootout. They're aware of where his position potentially is, but they just can't find him. Bino pushing down the hallway, but doesn't see JetCon. JetCon sees him, though. And with 10 seconds left, it's all in JetCon's favor because Bay doesn't even have defuse. He has to swing for the kill, and JetCon knows where he is, and he gets the kill and ties it up and verifies a 3-3 even half. Both teams going into our second half.
I mean, just due to the fact that Diffuser was put down in such an awkward spot, Bay can't really secure an advantage to get it back into sight safely. If he's not able to rotate around towards Archive's door, where actually his teammate of Bay can actually secure just a little bit of control, hold that crossfire back into sight, so that way JetCon can't go for that play. But because of the fact he still had speaking, just due to the fact that they can't find their way into sight safely without going through JetCon first, and because of the fact that they are both on such low HP, they can't really take those gunfights comfortably, and they just were in such terrible spots they can't double up on each other. So JetCon, while it was really tough for him to just kind of find some safe spots, played that to perfection and just fortified that 3-3 half for his team.
Yeah, that was a great answer back. As I said, obviously you're going into your attacking half, being down 3-1 initially for SSG Academy, they definitely wanted to bring it back 3-3, and that's exactly what they did. And the thing for Aerial Rise, though, is that they're going in their defensive half. So a 3-3 attacking half for the side of Aerial Rise, especially on a map like Border, that's good. I'll take away. I'm very happy with that. The standard right now is a 4-2 half for the defense, especially going against SSG Academy, which just came off this exact same map. It all was pointing towards a 4-2, maybe even potentially another 5-1 half for SSG Academy, especially with that 2-0. But Aerial Rise, it does seem like, that couple of days for the roster has worked out wonders for them.
Yeah, well, it does seem we're gonna have to wait until for just a few more minutes until we get into that second half because we having to deal with technical issues. So we'll send it to a quick break and we'll be right back after this.
Still is the trade. So happy that they're able to pounce on that one at least.
Yeah, Rice with the big pick. Unfortunately, he shuts out Russ, and that's one of your two flank watch. The other one recited just dying to Spiff, who just can't seem to ever truly be stopped. That's both of your flank watches gone. Luckily, some of those track singers did get out, but you would have really liked to see those guys coming and sticking around for longer, because right now what is killing them is that run out game, is this aggressive roam game. Rice is shut down, so that's one of those roamers on Solus who has a lot of information and who can be really squirrely, but still, Spiff is on the roam on Castle. He doesn't have any obligations to site. His castle barricades are up. He can kind of just do whatever and die off site. Things are getting even harder as Engage goes down. Still 0-5. He's really not finding anything working here, and it is just Team SBL all over.
Yeah, seems like the Coastal Gaming attack has just been kind of like not necessarily all over the place, but they just can't even get inside of the map. And that's the one thing that I talked about from the very beginning. Ever since SBL have won their first game, they've just been very good at stopping them from entering the map and just pushing forward with what they want to do in terms of gaining control. Running is now the last player alive, and you have not only the players off of site, but you have to run into Fenrir Mines, Legions potentially on this second floor, and also with Smoke of Poison, who's playing on the Solarium stairs, but could rotate to site at any time. So what do? You just sit on a roof. Take an unofficial timeout.
Yep. I think it's a smart move. I mean, at this point, Coastal Gaming, realistically, it's impossible for them to win this round. The best they can do is look to see if they can't win one. Get at least one on your attacking half. It'd be a good way, at least better way, to finish out this half and go into the favored side. But looking pretty dire for them right now.
It's really not the best, and not done a very good job at just like stopping the aggression from SBL that just have gotten like bolder each and every round. Every time Coastal Gaming want to put pressure somewhere, SBL are ready to like swing and delete that pressure almost immediately. Yeah, it's just not been the best of attacking halves from Coastal. 5-0, potentially maybe even a 6-0, and they don't really even take the timeout despite having that bit of a pause that Running had at the later stages of the game. This is not really in your plans when you attach the lane either. Going 5-0 down in the attack. Now, I mean, it's whatever, but just gotta look forward to the future. The future being basement site here from SBO.
Gonna see if they can't make it work this time. Not going to be bringing out a blitz. They're not going for any sort of rush. But we are seeing more of that roam clear stuff. No longer are they bringing the Nomad and Gridlock for flank watch, but Dokubi, Jackal. Can we see a better usage of these kind of pinch operators than we saw last time when Jackal was brought and not really used all that much? Spiff going to start things off with a spawn peak. We've been seeing so much of this. He's going to have one, but he's not going to be able to get it. Running somehow wins that out. I thought Spiff had it lined up, but I guess not. Great way to open things out. I think that's the second opening pick Coastal's gotten. The first one they got was against Poison on Smoke on that third round, pushing here when they were trying to do that blitz rush. But now there's no immediate answer back. This is a good way for Coastal Gaming to start things off, and they can start to do that information game, do that pinch. They have man advantage. They can play the trade game a little bit more as long as they just keep their...
Welcome back, everybody, to SSG Academy versus Aerial Arise. We're still on the very first map, but we're going into our second half. If you didn't catch the first half of this map in this game, we're going into a 3-3 evenly matched up half. And SSG Academy are shifting over to the attack, while Aerial Arise are falling back onto that defense. And yet again, we make it a rehost. it lasted like 5 seconds.
Okay, then. All right. Yeah, you know what? We're just gonna go to a quick break. just ignore
Enjoy
me
the
even
coastal
here.
game.
Just go back, Andrew. Send us to break again.
Maybe get a pick before he retreats back to site. Not going to find anything, though. HP is starting to fall for Russ and for Recited. That's kind of the one silver lining here for Team SBL, is that if they can keep doing these little paper cuts, you can maybe get a death by 1,000 cuts for Coastal, but it's just not working out right now. Coastal is taking their time. They're being a bit slower, a bit more methodical, using that Inox scanner from Jackal. pinch things out. Russ still contesting all the way from Big Garage, just kind of keep pressure on all these different sides of the site, preventing the defenders from really managing to leave site and try and do a flank somewhere. And I like that.
Yep, Rice is prepping, or not Rice, sorry, Asian is prepping to go up the blue stairs, but get shut down almost immediately. So yeah, like you said, Coastal doing a great job of shutting down the aggression. They haven't really opened up any of the hard walls. This was their issue last time in the basement that allowed SBL to do such a good cleanup, but they could be converging around not only the vertical, but also around the other areas of the map. Because there's only 3 people alive, you have more people in your favor, you can take this map control. But then Asian finds a kill onto the blue stairs push. This makes it infinitely harder to pressure site.
Going to be more difficult, and this is where things can get scary for Coastal. Time is of the essence right now. Joddles has to make something work here, and he can't. He actually does manage to trade it out. Poison, though, going to even things out. 2v2 all of a sudden. How is Team SBL going to claw this back? It's going to be up to Run and Engage for Coastal to make this happen, but Rice is just tucked far away. He has Planter in his sights, shuts him down. What looked like it should have been an easy round for Coastal is just going to get completely obliterated, and Team SBL take it from a round that they really shouldn't have had.
That's what I said. You just have to get aggressive and try and take gunfights. In that sense, Asian does exactly that. He goes and plays around the blue stairs area, around tarps, and pushes up the stairs. Not only finds 1 kill, but also finds the 2nd kill onto the 2nd player. Also, the player who like refragged him stepped in a Legion of Mine too, so he had to take the time to pull that out of his foot, which wastes even more time for Coastal Gaming, who just seemed like they really had a lack of options going into the execution. They couldn't really just walk inside. They had to try and take separate control of different areas. They hadn't gotten the snowball breach open until the very end of it, when they were trying to converge onto the connector player. And it's just SBL, they get punished for doing aggressive plays early on, but then Coastal just get punished for taking too much time.
All right, side swap happening. Going to reset the momentum a little bit. Team SBL have to kind of change up how they're playing. They no longer can just be all over the place and just kind of, running around. They have to be a bit more structured since they are on attack. That's what Coastal Gaming has to hope for here, is that the momentum and that the mental for Team SBL is going to have to cool off a little bit, and they aren't going to be on such a hot streak, because if they carry any of that momentum over, they can just walk through and take this an easy 7-0 right now. But Coastal are on defense. I talked about how strong these guys can be on defense because they play that same style of really hard to pin down, very aggressive roam play.
They're doing the full horizontal, or what the heck is it called? Yeah, horizontal hold instead of playing up top on vertical. They reinforce the library hatch too, and not only the library hatch near the library corner, but they have also reinforced the small box corner inside, right next to library, and they've also high-eated that. Now, the thing is that if SBL have been prepared for their attacks, they should be prepared for this defensive setup, where it seems like they kind of are, but they are stalling. They haven't gotten anywhere inside the map. It's been a minute. So, yeah, phone calls go through, but nobody's in yet.
Though it is going to be Rice to find the first pick under Rossetti. That's a good opening pick if you're trying to make your attack and half work. They also brought a Finka, which I like, because Poison is a 3-speed. He's on low health, but he's going to be brought up back to half. Unfortunately, though, one of their roam clear operators in Dokubi is going to be shut down by by Coastal Gaming. Picks are going to keep going the way of Coastal Gaming as they get another one. That's Asian taken out too. So it's going to be a 3v4, which isn't impossible here. They still have a ton of utility, but it's going to be a lot more difficult now that Rice is gone. Poison being alive is big, though. He has all those bolts in his pockets. He's got those can openers. He can make a lot happen, but it's going to have to be a lot, because they have to face down four defenders right now, including 1 C4, 3 of them full health. Engage will be shut down quickly, but the other ones are still going to be a big worry, especially that Warden. Even if you put down those smoke bolts, he just turns his glasses on, if he remembers to do that. Sometimes players forget. But if he turns them on, it's just an easy pick for him.
I also have no way of opening up that hatch and dealing.
Welcome back, and hopefully we'll stay back for a little while, hopefully for the rest of this map. If you're tuning in, it's 3-3, and Aerial Rise actually were up 3-1, but SSG Academy found their way back, flying 2 rounds up, mustering up a little bit of a comeback to get themselves, and they even have going into the second half.
I mean, at this point, it's been a while since we've actually got to see any action. We've seen more action on the TPL stream, which is still going on, where SBL is up 6-0. Might I add, that's just insane to see. It looks like it may be an SBL final going against whoever wins this, but still, even series so far, and it's been kind of going a little bit back and forth, ever so slightly, but SSG had a little bit of momentum. Granted, it may not be much of a factor considering we're now switching sides. It's been two rehosts, might I add. So going into this, I'm very curious to see how SSG take this because, well, they were not looking so great on their attacking half against Exos with Iris, but going into this may be a better sign considering how even the series has been.
Yeah, you know, it's been relatively, really even. SSG Academy showing yet again what they've been doing, for the past couple months, and all day today is adapting. They adapted on back with those 2 rounds, but right now we're seeing a very aggressive roster coming out from SSG Academy, bringing out that Grim paired with both a Lion and a Maru. We're going to see a swift start, but it doesn't matter because Packer shuts down that start, getting the very first kill for Aerial Rise, and it doesn't matter because he continues to dive that. Wow. In the span of 5 seconds, it's just all Aerial Rise, and it's a completely flawless round. And it's because SSG Academy, apparently they didn't shoot defaults. And wow, just a clinical defense, or clinical defense from Aerial Rise and SSG Academy just being completely shut down, not even able to start to give an answer.
What the hell just happened? I looked down for a second. It's like, okay, Packer just got 2 kills. Let me make a note of that. Everyone on SSG is dead. What just happened? I mean, sure, it may have come down to, Ariel just have an idea because the default cam wasn't shot. I don't know if that's totally the case or if there's a little bit more into that kind of overall idea. But regardless, it just seemed the SSG kind of let Packer do his own thing. He gets 2 picks on the armory side of the map, and then they just try to swarm things from there, just kind of rush it out, realizing that they lost 2 bodies, try to get it back very quickly and very aggressively, but if you don't have everything set up, you're not going to be looking as very good against a team who has the fundamentals down to really propel that sort of attack overall. So SSG, I would hope going into this next round, take their time, actually establish some things, because when we saw them win some of their rounds on defense, it was because of the fact that they played a little bit more reserved, played a little bit more with information in mind. Still aggressive, don't get me wrong, but still having the intel to actually go for those aggressive plays.
Yeah, an aggressive was the definition of the last round, but it just absolutely did not work. And this time around, we're going to be seeing, I wouldn't say a very slow, but a definitely slower pace compared to the last round. We're seeing Focal bring out that Brava drone paired up with that Flores, so they're going to be able to get rid of both intel, take away utility, and also just get rid of those, shields and barricades. But it doesn't matter because Vile just trying to continue that aggression, but he had no drone, no intel, just trying to walk into armory, and I'm just left clueless with no words because what was his plan there? As I said before, he had no drone. He didn't even have a sense of where that player, if there was a player. Clearly, he didn't think there was a player because he just walked in and died.
Yeah, that's a bit puzzling for me because, I mean, I thought I saw a drone ahead of him, but at the same time, it may have just been self-droning and then didn't realize that Inrio's just right there. So, I just, again, trying to see them get a little ahead of themselves, try to rush things out and not secure those advantages, and just giving picks over to Aerial Rise, who we just said have the better fundamentals as far as this goes. They haven't been a team for very long, but still have an idea of how to play these things and starting to really struggle to get this office control from Fountain, but they do light up Bino just a little bit, but he's being forced back and not really giving anything away, but they do get a pick onto Woos now.
And barring getting that pick now, they've got control of upstairs. But it doesn't matter because Faye coming back for that backstab does get it, and paired with that C4 from Inro solidifies a 2-man count for the side of Aerial Rise. And now with, sure, you got a minute left, but you don't have any intel and you have no map control. JetCon being lit up from stairs, and Faye with his second in this round shuts down JetCon. Focal has the idea, has the kill on to Packer, but so far with 45 seconds, it's just not enough. Bino may have a line of sight, and yes, he does. He gets a long and nice shot onto Focal, and that is 2 rounds in a row for Aerial Arise.
I mean, we've seen them go up 2 rounds before and then let SSG get back into this game, but so far, right now, at least on their defensive half, they look like they just have better idea of just what they need to do to win these rounds out. And then SSG getting way ahead of themselves. I mean, right there, we see Vil just hop in without any information in mind to get that kill onto Inria, who's just sitting right there, completely uncontested. That is a very expected play. You're still expecting roamers to be aggressive for at least the entry start of that round over towards Armory. It is a basement teller's defense, but you're still expecting roamers. You need to drone these things out and then hop in behind those drones, get that kill, and then work your way towards office. It's basic little things, right? That's just step number 1. They didn't follow step number 1. They have to fight their way back from behind again in this game. That's kind of been the story so far for SSG, is to fighting from behind and then working their way back into the advantage. But so far, Arial are not giving anything up so far.
Yeah, Arial is putting themselves in positions to just win every gunfight, not only with utility, but also having a second player to back up in case they do lose that man count to get the refrag on the opposite side. SSG Academy just putting themselves into 1v1 and 1v2 singular isolated positions that just completely favor and honestly just give away picks to Aerial Arise, but SSG Academy only down 2 rounds. You only need 1 round, or 2 rounds rather, to bring it to, an even count. But the thing is, you need more than 2 rounds to at least solidify yourself over time. Vile getting a little bit aggressive on top main. Woo's right there to answer back. Woo's continuing to push up, continuing to push this aggression, continuing to put pressure onto SSG Academy, just missing the shots onto Vile. But for now, he's just going to fall back, and all this aggression will not result in much aside from SSG Academy getting a little bit of map control, but they still have to drone it out and they still have to take it. And Woo's actually retaking this position, giving Vile somewhat of a false sense of security. Woo's going out of C4 will not result in much. Packer gets the first kill. Woo's follows it up yet again onto Barring. Finally, JetCon stops the bleeding, finally getting Woo's, but that's a player you should have gotten ages ago.
And the fact that he's still able to do that and they get 2 kills in the process gives Aerial Rise a definitive lead. Focal's in the site, but things are opening up ahead of him. So he's not really in a safe space at the moment. Has to give up the site in order to find this kill into her bathroom. But there's a player down bottom middle, and he has no idea. Aerial Rise up 4-2 in the man count lead, and Bill on such low HP, he has barely any room to work with.
Just not even really going onto an angle in a line of sight that was even in his favor because of that Bay just steals that kill, and now it is all up to JetCon, that support IGL player, and with a minute left, that's all he has is time. He has the time, someone on his side, but he doesn't have intel, and Packer, continuing to be that player for Aerial Rise, shuts him down and puts his team not only 3 rounds in a row, but puts his team on match point.
And it's just the same problem from previous rounds where just SSG don't seem to be giving themselves any help so far. They just seem to be a bit surprised by the fact that, oh, Ariel's getting in our faces, they're winning these gunfights out. They had an idea that the player is still sitting on East Balk, and yet they don't double up on him. The player coming in from lobby doorway is not working with the buck up above. They just seem to be out of sync with each other. They're not helping each other out. And like we said, they're just kind of singling themselves out, giving Ariel these 1v1s and then eventually trying to find these kills. It's not a recipe for success by any means. Aerial Rise are just doing everything right so far. They're just getting these kills, falling back when they need to, and then otherwise just getting aggressive early on, because so far, SSG have not given any of them any reason to stop. They've just been aggressive and winning everything, so why not just keep doing it? If it works, don't fix it.
So far, and honestly, in recent time, SSG Academy, through the T3 and T4 leagues they've been playing in the off-season after E2, have looked phenomenal and haven't really been given a challenge, but for the first time after losing 0-2, Aerial Rise has completely stunted SSG Academy. SSG Academy just not being able to play around what Aerial Rise is giving them whatsoever. And SSG Academy, not only have they not given an answer back, Aerial Rise has made sure they've not been in a position to even answer back whatsoever. Aerial Rise just one round away, droning out, trying to flood out and find the positions of these potential roamers on the first floor, but it's going to be actually they on the dock inside of security that they're going to have to worry about and clear out if they want to potentially push on the site. Who's over swinging a little bit, almost punished on that crossfire, but skips away just in time, and for now, not a whole lot going to be happening.
Nothing happening just yet. SSG need to secure at least one little bit of aggression and one pick going their way, but ARIAL on the flank from down below gets a kill onto Vil, tosses out a C4 and actually downs Jetcon, but Cover from the other side on the window is gonna be able to— no! He loses the fight, so Jetcon can't be picked up yet. He's now going to be confirmed, and no way he nearly gets that kill onto Ari. There is no way the SSG fall apart like this.
SSG Academy with a minute 30 left, half of the round gone, and more than half of their players gone. Only 2 players, and at that, barring completely low health, basically, essentially one shot. And not only that, but they also have to deal with basically 4 fully healed players. Babe hopefully will be able to get Woos back up to health if he chooses to do so. Barring forced to go around, rotate into a solo play to hopefully give his teammate rather something to work with, because right now they have absolutely nothing but Faye just completely turning around onto Ball. Barring unable to find that kill, and now it is all they know where he is, and Woos cuts it down and wins the first map. They flawless 4 rounds on defense after switching sides.
I'm pretty sure that still keeps them in a 100% defensive win rate on border. So far, Aerial Rise, they kind of struggled on the initial opening half of border, but really cleaned things up on defense and then shut SSG down. And there's really no answers by SSG so far. They looked okay to start, but again, playing from behind is not a recipe for success. They haven't been able to really secure any advantages outside of the 2 rounds they won going into the half. And then from there, where have they been? They have not really showed up, and we're not seeing that team that we have been expecting to play so dominantly.
And speaking of dominance, Aerial Rise just being completely dominant, and as we said before, they've had a couple days to really, play and flex out with this new roster, and that's exactly what they have done. They won their first map pick, but the thing is, they're going to Chalet, which not only is SSG Academy's map pick, but last time they played it earlier this week, they won. And if I'm Aerial Rise, even if I do lose this next map, the first map is out of the way. You already got a map. You're going on to border, which in my opinion, if we do get to border, which I think we do, I think we'll see all 3 maps today, but border is a 50-50. It's a throw up in there. It's a toss, it's a toss of the coin, but we're going to have to wait a little bit for that. But honestly, serious, Aerial Rise looking like a completely different team. After losing Poison, they struggled. Honestly, talking to players, really just, seeing what they were saying, it looked like they didn't know what to do. They just didn't expect Poison to leave. It happens a lot of times. Poison just had an opportunity he could not pass up. And because of that, they had to scrounge up this roster, which honestly, this roster is amazing. The players they have right now is great, especially paired and glued together by Packer.
Yeah, it looks like they've been really working so well together, even given the short time period together, but we'll have to wait to see how they play on Chalet after this quick break.
said it. Poison's got a big brain. He's got a 5 head, a 6 head even. Like packing a lot of juice in that thing, and he's going to be able to use it here. He's definitely going to have some good strats come out. Like you were saying, more structured map. It's probably going to be a bit slower, maybe a little bit less aggressive than what we were watching over on Chalet. And I wonder if that's going to affect the bans we see at all. If we're going to see something slightly different. We'll see.
Yep, Coastal's going to start us off with the bans. Last time it was not Ying, it was Brava. No, it was. Oh yeah, it was Brava and Ying. For some reason, I'm thinking back to the Project Harmony game where Ying was not banned a single time. She was also not really played a single time on any of the attacks, especially it was Border too, so that was quite surprising. But it was Brava, Ying, Zami, and Valk last map. This time it's going to be Ying, same as last map. Dokkaebi, just a little bit different though.
Yep, just looking to maybe make
Welcome back, everybody, to our semi-final game of XGX Spring Burst. And we still have SSG Academy versus Aerial Rise, but it was Aerial Rise to run away with the first map and run away with 4 rounds in a row on their defense to take the first map 7-3. But now we're going on to SSG Academy's favorite map pick.
Yeah, it should be kind of the point where SSG either bounce back or it's just going to be Aerial Rise continuing with their momentum, winning this off 2-0. And on the other side of the bracket, if you're not watching the TPL stream, SBL have already won map 1 7-1 against Coastal Gaming. So dominant showcase for them and another dominant showcase for Aerial Rise, who are looking primed and ready to try to shut this thing down here on Chalet, which you've already mentioned this before, was where they lost against SSG in the Wild Goose Chase. 7-5 fashion, so even though it was a close series, it's honestly looking like Aerial Rise are still going to be trying to ride this momentum, even with all that, because maybe they were still figuring things out then.
100%. As we've spoken about before, you know, when they did play last Tuesday, this was a roster they kind of scrounged up with, you know, kind of friends they played within ranked. All these players know each other, and after a couple of days, it's been proven that they have finally found their footing. But the thing is, SSG Academy is a team that's known for adapting, and they get the lucky chance of adapting onto not only their map pick, but one of their most favorite maps that they previously beat this team on. And I think this map will really go to show whether it's, you know, SSG Academy just, you know, kind of being down in the dumps, or if Aerial Rise are actually, you know, have really figured their things out. Because if SSG Academy win this definitively, it's going to be a very different story going to Oregon. But if we see another, 7-5 go the way of SSG Academy this time around, maybe even an overtime match, Oregon will continue to be, in my opinion, a coin toss 50-50.
Yeah, it certainly is the case, but they have a lot of mistakes, in my opinion, that they need to fix because a lot of that was just them not really playing all that well in that second half. They were just getting way too ahead of
Not droning.
themselves and just not droning, not doing the fundamentals. Just really hurts them in the very end. So, and against a team who has all those fundamentals down for the most part, a few small mistakes here and there, but otherwise, just tiny little things that if you're not really quite ready for them, you're not ready to capitalize on those tiny mistakes by Ariel, and then you can't punish them and get things back closer into your favor. Valkyrie did a little bit of that, but look how that game went. It was a 7-3, 7-2, I'm pretty sure, against Valkyrie for Aerial Rise, or sorry, 7-4, 7-3. My mistake, but still. Point is that if Valkyrie can punch those small mistakes, you can too, but they just need to help themselves out first things first.
In SSG Academy, this is really going to show that, if they have yet again another slow start, it couldn't be a telltale sign. But it's that later half of not only the rounds themselves, but the actual half of the map that they have to start picking things up. Because, they had a 3-3 half. They were down 2 rounds. They brought it back with 2 back-to-back rounds. It was just honestly the attack they struggled with. And my thing is it, maybe they just couldn't play defense against Aerial Arise? Or was it maybe a thing of, Aerial Rise just, being on top of it? So going in this match, I'm really answering the question, not only if SSG Academy can show up, but if they can fix those tiny mistakes. So those are mistakes that just should not be happening. It's basically just players not caring enough.
Yeah, it's tough because SSG have all the fundamentals. They've only changed out one player of Trevmac over towards barring. So, I mean, we've seen how it goes for another team who only changed one player that was wanted goons, and they just were not looking like themselves. SSG have already shown that they can play like their old selves over towards Element, but that last map, they kind of want to forget it. They don't want to make sure that they keep up those bad habits that they developed in that previous matchup. Because like you said, this is their more favored map going into this, so they should have the advantage. They have the understanding of how to play this map. They just need to shut down the aggression coming in from Aerial Rise because they're not doing anything too out of the ordinary, out of the box kind of strategies. It's just the same basic fundamentals that you would see from any other team who has just formed recently, but you need to actually put in the work to work on getting that shut down and then going from there.
Well, it looks like we're actually going to be going to a short break. The little technical pause. You'll be able to watch the B stream surely, but we will see you guys in just a second as we get the lobby set up. Welcome back, everybody, to the XGS Spring Burst semi-final game of SSG Academy versus the newly formed Aerial Arise. If you weren't in for the previous map, we're on our second map now, Chalet. Previous map being Border. Aerial Arise coming back with 4 rounds in a row on their defense to win it 7-3. But now we're going on to SSG Academy's map pick.
And we've already kind of talked about this before when we had to go to that little quick break, but SSG like this map a lot. This should be the kind of their home staging ground where they can kind of bounce back from this, fix up some of those mistakes, kind of just forget about that last game because, I mean, you were looking good for that first half and starting on your own defense. This should put you in hopefully a better position to kind of start bounce back, make up for some of those like faults in the previous game, but overall, kind of stock standard bans coming in. We've got Yokobi and Ying to no longer have to deal with. That does leave up Flores though, so if a zombie is left up, she won't have nearly as big of an impact if those Flores drones do get into position, but that's just a matter of if she even makes it through this ban phase.
Valkyrie also being banned out. That you can see Bay getting a little angry. And for our final defensive ban, it could have been anything, but we're seeing very basic bans come out here. And for our last ban, before I go to my point, Ben Rear, this is one of his most banned maps, or maps where he's banned most. But the thing is, if we look at this ban lineup, aside from Valkyrie, it's somewhat basic. And not only is it basic, but this is honestly SSG's map. Not only their pick, but their map to win because they just played it earlier today. So all the cards are in SSG Academy's favor. They should not lose this. And if they do lose this, it's a problem on their part. Surely, at the end of the day, Aerial Arise has to be that team that has to bring that aggressive playstyle to off-put and eventually beat SSG Academy. But the thing is, for this map of Chalet, for Aerial Arise to win it, they have to completely outplay, shut down, and just take this map away. Everything statistically, everything is just telling that this should not be an Aerial Arise win, but going off of last map, it could be. We could see a 2-0. I'm a little scared. It's more of like a small possibility. I still think we will get that third map of Oregon.
I mean, I don't know if you noticed that, but I'm pretty sure Bay was just quoting the lyrics to song Skyfall. Just a second ago, I just realized that after he typed in that second thing he put in the chat, but so he's feeling good about himself. He's already quoting Honda lyrics at this point, so I'm feeling a little bit nervous for SSG if he's feeling that good. All right, who's stopping him? But SSG have a very interesting defensive setup, kind of just trying to lock out that library side of the map with those longings from that office doorway. But it does seem to indicate to me right now that Aerial Arise are trying to completely ignore that. They're going for a solar side hit and just holding off all those cutoffs towards big window and bathroom window to just kind of ignore that entirely. Go for what side's the easier side to hit and then just not worry about what the defense is really wanting to go at.
Yeah, we're continuing to see Aerial Arise, even in the early round, setting the tempo, just completely diverging all around SSG Academy's defense, but it doesn't matter because Vile, yet again, being that player to get those first and entry picks, is the very first pick of not only this round, but this map, but it's answered back quickly from Inrail, but he also takes control of Bathroom, surely edging his way onto B site, but he has a very powerful position here, but the thing is, he doesn't have a whole lot of intel, he doesn't have a whole lot of utility. Woos backs it up even more with a second pick on JetCon, and yet again, SSG Academy on the back foot with only a minute 45 seconds left.
Running out of round to play with at this point. Focal down below, trying to play from denial down below. Aerial Rise can try to go for a plant if they feel comfortable enough, or they're trying to find at least one more kill, or at least find a safe pathway into the bomb site. It's probably going to be a closet door plant, but with Focal still down below, they need to be careful of that. Send a player down below to take care of him. Packer's going to try to start getting this counter defuse off, and Bino there to take down Focal is going to surely secure this plant.
With 40 seconds left, a 2v4, not only do SSG have players, but it doesn't matter. Baron gets the kill, but Baron all alone in a 1v3. No idea where any of these players are aside from that Solarian player. They know exactly where he is. Those gunshots from his gun is going to ring out, and it's Inrio to eventually shut it down. And Aerial Arise continuing with technically 5 rounds in a row now, going into our second map.
I mean, and just a beautiful adaptation to what SSG were setting up for. They surely just drone things ahead, realized that, hey, all these holes are being made towards this library side. Let's just kind of change things up, go for the complete opposite side of the map, because they're not going to be expecting that necessarily. They're expecting a library side hit and completely trying to deny that entrance from that part of the map. But they go completely opposite. They go towards solar side, establish those cutoffs, and then lock everyone out from the master part of the bomb site. Not a single person can actually come deny this plant outside of Focal, who's down below, but Aerial Rise already one step ahead of that. They send another player down there, take his head off, secure that plant, and put Barring in a terrible spot for a retake. So, beautiful take by Aerial Rise, and just another example of how SSG are just kind of playing behind Aerial Rise. They're not playing with Aerial Rise at this point. They're always one step behind every single time.
It looks like Aerial Rise just has SSG Academy's strat book. They're always not only one step ahead of him, but it just looks like they understand what SSG's Academy's like actual positioning and their actual moves are going to be before they even do it. They just have complete control. And we asked last map if it was just, SSG Academy falling behind, if they were just making those mistakes, or if it was Aerial Arise being that team and coming out and just completely taking control of the entire series. And the thing I'm wondering here is it too late for SSG to stop the bleeding? Because all they need is one round, but we're continuing to see they just don't have an answer back for anything.
Yeah, just starting off on just a very dominant round by Aerial Rise, it was barely even all that close. Barring at least gets one more kill after the plant gets confirmed, and even though they do lose the opening pick, Aerial Rise were looking in prime position to just win that round off as soon as they got into those window positions and just lock down the bomb site in its entirety, because they restrict everyone from SSG over towards Office and Piano. Just playing behind every single step. So what is the adaptation here? What is the thing that SSG need to do? Do they need to be more aggressive? Do they just need a bit more flexible? Because so far, their strategies so far just haven't really been working, and just the fundamentals have not really helped them to get it back to even remotely even so far. So, at this point, Goose, I'm just starting to worry that Aerial Rise are just going to start to kind of steamroll them at this point, because if that's how round one went, I'm not saying it's over already, because it's one round. Yeah. SSG can easily bounce back here, but starting off the same way you did Border, that's never a great sign.
And the thing about that round was not only was it essentially a steamroll, but it was very one-sided. That was a very one-sided attack. You had one player on double window, two players on Solarium, and one player on the side of balcony on highway. There was no really fluidity to that overall attack, and that was probably, in my opinion, one of the easiest attacks to counter, because it was just so one-dimensional. And that's what really worries me about SSG Academy, is not their lack of adaptability, but their lack of adaptability against essentially really basic attacks coming out from Aerial Rise. As we said before, Aerial Rise isn't doing anything crazy on the strat board. We've even talked about it, that they probably won't be doing that. That's probably not their plan to bring out these really crazy strats. They're probably just trying to flex their skills, flex how they play together, but also single player, so they can really, get picked up either on to a different T2 team or maybe potentially a T1 team in the future.
Going into round number 2, SSG starting off onto the basement bomb site, trying to play this aggressive run. We already see Barring try to go for an aggressive spawn peek early on in the round, but not able to find anything just yet. This presence is starting to just kind of adapt to where Aerial are going, but Woos gets the first pick onto Anki. That's going to be the Oryx over towards Case is dead, so Barring is in post position to try to trade things out, but he's just trying to play that time now.
Barring wedged his way through, but it looks like Woos is very aware of his position, but it's Bino to strike back and get the second pick onto Barring. That is now essentially both of your roamers dead, but Bile finally has an answer back. Bino up from that C4 blow, but it's JetCon to get down. Vocal actually coming on top of the engagement, and they're getting the kill. JetCon going to be revived, but here's Vile edging his way behind the attackers, and he gets a double kill. But now he's retaken map control, and both Bay and Inreal have to deal with him. They either have to ignore him, and that's Case down. Not only do they have to deal with him, but also he has complete control of bomb, and it doesn't look like he actually even realized that.
No, but I think it's a lot smarter for him to actually start to fall back closer to his team, play those crossfires, and don't want to give up another pick to make it back towards a 2v2. So, really like this play from Vill, trying to play a little bit closer, because now they can hold down blue stairs, play around to where Aerial Rise are going to be trying to take next, because at this point, they don't have as many bodies, they don't have as much manpower to work an actual play. They just need to find at least one more pick to try to get into the bomb site. But at this point, they're so separated, they can't really play off of each other if they do get that pick. And did they even get this main wall open? I'm sure they did, since Bay is working his way over there.
They did get the wall open with 50 seconds left. They're very disconnected.
no.
But Bay finds the pick, the head onto Focal, but he may not be aware of this player in connector, and he's not. JetCon gets the refrag onto Bay and now puts his team in a 2v1. And no, he just slips away from the line of sight. Wait, Inreal may have found the pick, but he just can't find the head, just baiting that time of 30 seconds, not able to find, just running away, going to reposition. And the thing is, he has control of Case, and now he has control of the round and saves it, and now ties it up 1-1, and finally, after 5 grueling, long round wins for Aerial Rise, SSG Academy finally, in the second map, find an answer back.
Finally breaking the pattern of just Aerial Rise winning rounds dominantly and just decisively throughout this entire just overall series so far, and just Vill really bringing that round back. Sure, yeah, there was a player down below who got another pick. It was going to be Focal down below, essentially trading out his down teammate of JetCon, so making sure that it's at least somewhat even. Then Vill just pounces upon this upstairs attack by Aerial Academy, or Aerial Rise, not Aerial Academy, that makes sense, but they just kind of let him just walk right on up. There's no drones, there's no flank watch established by Aerial Rise. They just allow him to be aggressive, get those picks back when they desperately needed to find something. Just Aerial Rise just should have been expecting that a little bit more, considering how far down SSG were, because they started off that, oh well, just take care of those top 2 roamers, and then just floundered on the actual execute stage where they just let Vill completely ruin their setup.
Yeah, no, Vill, and I honestly, at first I was going to say it was hero plays, but those hero plays would not have happened without the support in the intel coming from the teammates. So overall, that was just a great round from every player, just as a team from SSG Academy. And going into this next round, they finally have not only their footing, but they can say, we've got the round. That's all we need. Let's go into this like a new game. And, you know, it really does seem like that. We can see Baring playing really aggressive up on this roam, just really feeling himself, really putting himself out there in this aggressive position, and he's going to force Aerial Rise to deal with this. And paired up with his teammate, he should actually have a decent chance to hold this worthwhile, maybe even run away with a pick.
It's really stalling things out. I mean, he does eventually die, but look at how much time he wasted. Already a minute gone, and there's still more aggressive plays coming in from bottom solar. He has a huge opportunity to find at least 1 or 2 picks. Does spot one, is going to try to swing onto the bathroom player, but doesn't find it just yet. Bino's going to take the engagement, but Packer with the assist on the windows does trade him out. So things are still in the advantage of Aerial Rise, but look at how much time was wasted. A little over half the round left, and they're just now trying to get back to the site, with Vill getting another one to make it even.
Not only have they wasted so much time, but they haven't gotten a whole lot of map control. They're still just pushing in through that Solarium, and now they still have to drone. They still have to clear out this top mez and library position, and with a minute 20 left and somewhat low health on Bino, it's going to be really difficult. SSG Academy putting themselves in a really comfortable and a really good position to not only win this library hold, but potentially win this round. While they continue the drone, all SSG Academy is doing is wasting the time for Aerial Rise, and they continue to put Aerial Rise on the back foot.
I mean, there's still all of these keep-up areas in the way of Aerial Rise that they need to take care of first. JetCon's going to take the first engagement on the Packer Star and shuts him down. Another one player swings onto him, gets the down. Bill's just waiting for an opportunity to drop out and down to the hatch and get to safety. Vocal gives this team the advantage, and Bino on such low HP can't really do much of anything. He has very little utility, only one grenade in pocket, but has no idea where these last 2 players are.
30 seconds left. Next to no health. Followed up by Bill. The thing is Focal, full health. Definitely going to be in a position to trade this player if he does so lose. But also the thing is, Dino has no idea where these two players is. And you still have a player on blue stairs that surely can retake, but it doesn't matter because Focal shuts down the round and shuts down the drop. And for the first time in this series, SSG Academy have a round and overall round count lead.
I mean, I think that's been their best round played so far, at least on this map alone, especially considering the fact that, granted, Barin did die first, but look at how much of a bait he was to allow Anki to just walk right on up. Stall that time for so long that Aerial Rise couldn't get to the main part of the thing that they wanted to go for. They wanted to get towards office, put pressure onto that case's hallway and top mezzanine, but because they had to waste the first minute and a half clearing out those two roamers on the complete opposite end of the map, it really stalls them out. They have less utility to work with considering they lose two bodies in the process. They can't clear things out nearly as effectively. In SSG, all they have to do is sit back on the bomb site, play around their utility, and continue to waste more and more time, and then get those picks in the process as Ariel are scrambling to get pressure.
And honestly, SSG Academy, those 2 rounds, that's all they needed. I think they really have put themselves back in this series. Sure, they're still down a map, but it's as simple as you just need 2 rounds. You just need that man count, not only, for the series to put yourself in a position to win, but also for that mental. Those 2 rounds do so much because it just really gives a sign that SSG that's like, okay, what we're putting up is working and work. We just need to play together, and we need to actually force Aerial Rise to play our game, and that's what they're doing. Aerial Rise going to try to clear these positions, but SSG Academy getting really aggressive early on. Inky may not be aware of the position of Inbro outside. Vocal also making sure nobody goes down from Trench. They have a drone, but they may not have seen the player. They will be following up. They will identify the player, but the thing is, Vocal, he's not going to over-aggress. He realizes that he can waste a lot of time in this position, and he doesn't even really need to go for the kill. But the thing is, he swings. Rio does see him, shoots back a little bit, continues to overswing, but has not been punished yet. So far, Inro being punished. Both players trading back shots, but Vocal realizing that he's just not in a position to get that kill and spit her off if it just falls back.
But still, a lot of pressure being established so that way he cannot work his way up that west main staircase. So Inrio just has to waste a little bit more time, possibly even rotate to help his team out elsewhere. So that part of the play is not going to work. And right now, Aerial Rise not really establishing any pressure onto the actual areas they want to attack just yet. They're trying to clear out office, but Bill still sticking behind these zombie barriers are just being an absolute nuisance. He's been playing this very aggressively, does get the down and the kill onto Vinos to start things off. He's just repelling this entire attack outside of office, and Aerial Rise can't do anything about it just yet.
Ooh, and Bill gets a second kill onto Packer, but Bay eventually shuts him down, followed by Inreal, but JetCon is there to catch that player. Bay pushing in, Bearing also following back, and Aerial Rise still find themselves down 2 men, and now it's all up to Woos in a 1v3. Getting C4'd from below. They're very aware of where his position is, and Wu's in a very difficult position. I wouldn't say next to unwinnable, but he's going to have to find 2 big kills, a third, and potentially even put bomb down, but he doesn't even have bomb, so he's going to have to go for the kill. But Barring coming up on the retake, trying to find him, but it's Woos to actually find the kill, and the Barring puts himself in a 1v2 situation. He does have the vertical play. He is eventually going to get Kaysen. He does have 30 seconds, but he still has to find at least one player to force the other player to fall back. 20 seconds remaining. He's going to try to drop this hatch, trying to flash out, but both these players are going to be well aware of JetCon not even being flashed. Easily going to shut that down, and now SSG put themselves up 3-1.
And very dominant way of doing so as well. Last 2 rounds have been clearly in their favor, even if they don't always start off on the actual opening kill advantage. They're still look like they have a better foundation of what they want to do in a round. They're making Aerial Rise have to play to their pace, which has not been the case the entire series, it's been SSG playing to the pace of Aerial Arise. Now these last 2 rounds have been, all right, we're dictating where you go. We're going to dictate how these engagements are going to be played out. It's going to be Bill establishing that pressure towards Office and repelling that entire attack with just a little bit of help from those Azami barriers. Just cannot do anything about it. They're trying to send all these Flores drones, all these Ash charges, clear him out however you can, but that's such a difficult position to clear. And Aerial Rise just did not have the fundamentals to just clear him out effectively. They seem to be kind of going about it very just kind of one at a time. One player's peeking at this wrong time and just unfortunately over aggresses, gives him the opening pick, and then they just struggle to get anywhere from there. SSG, all they have to do is fall back, play around that utility again, which has been serving them so well these last 2 rounds.
In SSG Academy, they have not only got themselves on a comfortable lead, that being 3-1, but they also just continue to put themselves in very comfortable positions leading into that late round. And that's not to take away from Aerial Rise. Aerial Rise isn't dropping the ball. They're still putting up a very good attack, a very good plan, very good setup and push. But SSG Academy finally has been able to lead into it and deny them. And now, even if they lose these next 2 rounds, they solidify themselves a 3-3 half. But the thing is, the trend we're continuing to see is that SSG Academy very well could run away with a 4-2 half, and we're just continuing to see why they're so good at Chalet, especially against Aerial Arise. And it's relieving to see that SSG Academy has found their footing, because I was a little bit worried this was not going to be that close of a matchup, but SSG Academy, while it is their map pick, their overall playstyle has changed and, slowed down a little bit, but that doesn't matter. To get the very first pick on the aim key, and that's a really questionable kill. That's a really hard kill to get, and that's followed up yet again by Bay. And half the round gone, you have half of your team gone, and only 3 players left for SSG Academy.
And I'm not even sure how Aimkey actually got picked off there, maybe just overexposing himself to the big window of Bay. And now, unfortunately, Jekon, having to aggress onto this bathroom doorway, is going to get flashed out, but saves himself with that nice keep-up barrier. So he's actually able to get out safely, just those zombie barriers, making him safe, but he overexposes himself. Vocal trades him out, but there's such a disadvantage. He's just going to go insane. He's just fighting his way back into a prime position, trying to even things out.
Even with those 2 kills, Vocal and Barring still find themselves in a 2v3, but Barring swinging this player, surely will find him. Yes, he does, but it's Bino to refrag him, and now Barring in a 1v2 scenario. But the thing is, Bay is on the window, somewhat disconnected from his team. Bino putting the bomb down, but Bay on that double window, holding off that connection, shutting down Barring, and now Aerial Arise starting to climb their way back, and only 1 round away from tying it all up.
And with almost identical push to how they went about it in round number 1, in SSG seemed to try to apply some adaptation to how they wanted to repel that attack, because they still wanted to focus on stopping that library side hit, but then actually bring Amira, bring the Azami to kind of make it easier to hold on to it, but they just overexpose themselves early, make it to where Aerial Rise get the necessary picks, but then Focal tries to bring it back, makes it to where it's possible round for them to win, but it comes off of him just getting aggressive, swinging out when Aerial don't necessarily expect him to. And just, again, some lessons learned, but just didn't apply them nearly well enough on that Master Office defense, due to the fact that just Aerial Rise did the exact same thing, and it still worked. Granted, not nearly as well as it did round 1, but still very effectively, because of the fact that Bay is just on that cutoff, making it to where it's almost impossible to stop that game.
Overall, a great, lines of sight being held, but for our final round of this first half, and the final round for SSG Academy's defensive half, we will be going to Bar Gaming, and yet again, Barring on the opposite side of the map, in the exact same position he was the same round they won this site. It's going to be the exact same problem of that extended hold, not only in Library, but all the way over in Master. But this time around, it actually looks like SSG Academy is going to be clearing out the basement, trying to get hold of the actual control and apply pressure from below. But the thing is, there's not a whole lot of actual bottom vertical you can hold. So eventually you're going to have to deal with what honestly comes down to the whole entire round. It's not actually the site, it's actually this library hold. If you can get this library hold on the side of attack, you put yourself in basically a winning position. But if you can't get it away from the defenders, which they completely have, they've just pushed all the defenders outside of library, but it's actually Vild yet again to get the first pick onto Packer, originally roaming down below, but shutting down that retake and flank.
That was going to be a big presence because they wanted to get that stock wall open and then allow Packer to just kind of lurk up either staircase, put more pressure and eventually get a kill. But it doesn't seem that they're going to be able to do that nearly as easily, and they're still struggling with all this utility over towards library. They're trying to hit this direct, but JetCon just peeks a little bit of his pixel out towards where Bay can actually take off his head. They still have library control for now. Vocal's in a good position to stop anybody from popping in. But right now, it's back to even effectively in man count, and Bino makes it even more an advantage.
Arial also being down essentially a 3v3 we find ourselves in, but Aimkey makes it a 2v3, and Bay following it back up, and now SSG Academy finding themselves falling back behind, retaking upstairs, but it doesn't matter because there's a player on highway. Bino gets 2 great kills, and Barry, where are you looking? You knew exactly where he was. Bino also knew where that lesion was, and he shuts it down and ties it up. And yet again, I'm starting to get a little bit more worried because we find ourselves at a 3-3 attacking half, and Arial Arise going on to the defense.
That is definitely scary to see how just history kind of repeats itself. A team goes up to 3 rounds and then just ties it back up afterwards. So we're effectively back at square one. So now Arial Rise going on to their own defense, where they had 100% win rate on border. They're looking in good position because now they've got regained that momentum. They started to bring some rounds back and look a lot better about doing so. Granted, these last couple of rounds have been a lot closer than I think they would have liked, but still, you're going to be happy that you got at least 3 rounds on what is otherwise a very defender-sided map. Going on to this, they're going to be trying to do similar things, just as propel SSG from getting into the map, establishing those cutoffs, because that's what this map is all about. Establishing those cutoffs, and Castle is going to be a very good operator to make sure that you can't hold them nearly as easily, or you're going to have to invest a lot more time and utility to clear those things out.
Throughout 3 maps so far on this stream today for both quarter and semis, this is the first time we've actually seen Solus slip out of that ban phase, and I am more than definitely sure we're going to see a result of that. You know, we didn't see her show up too much in the first half, but Packer, if you've been watching him as a player, both in, you know, amateur leagues and T1, he loves the Solus. He is a Solus main, a Solus creep, and he uses her very effectively, very useful. So I'm really curious to see how SSG Academy deal with Packer on this, whether they have 2 options to, you know, really directly, you know, address him early on, or honestly just kind of ignore him, kind of force him to push himself out. Yeah.
Well, it's a very slow take to start things off for SSG ACAD. They're trying to establish some pressure over towards library, finally make their way on in. But now that the next step is going to be clearing out that office side, which, just a reminder, Arial are having a hard time doing that as well. But Packer, being the creep that you said, is just lurking down below, gets the opener onto Aimkey, but is immediately traded out. But that's already pressure established. You have barely even gotten to put anything onto the actual bomb site, and you've already lost a body in the process. I mean, Packer says he missed a couple of shots there, but still, you've already done so well to kind of throw off SSG in the very beginning of this round.
I would say that's relatively an even pick. You take out relatively the 2 most important operators for attack and defense. That Buck is now gone. Aimkey also gone. While he isn't showing up on the board, he did the last game, but still, he's going to be able to get that easy vertical control. But on the side of defense, you now have your Solus gone, while she does get to run away with a kill. That's a lot of utility gone, but the problem for SSG Academy is they're missing that Buck. And not only are they missing that Buck, but they just have not been able to really find a hold onto this top floor. And it looks like they're struggling. They're not exactly sure of how they want to approach this because they don't have a whole lot of intel. They had no intel on Inreal, and it doesn't matter because Inreal shuts down Vocal. JetCon now getting lit up, but it doesn't matter because JetCon gets one, almost a 2-piece. but Wu shuts him down. Barring now left in a 1v3, completely shut down from up top. Arial Arise gets the very first round win, and SSG Academy honestly really struggling to swim in the water that round.
I mean, they just couldn't even get any top floor presence whatsoever. I mean, Packer just made sure that they were completely not going to be able to open up any of those soft floors once they actually got off his orb master control in their pocket. But due to the fact that they just couldn't even get it in the first place, it didn't even matter that he got the buck out of the way. They can't even penetrate that top floor defense, and then they just get desperate, try to run in, allow just really Jetcon to just kind of disrupt that entire hold. But due to the fact that how Ariel was holding it, it's just super easy for them to just be like, oh, a guy's rushing us from West Main. All right, you died there, but I'm just going to swing onto him, take him out of the way. And then there's just nobody else there for SSG because you're just going off desperation picks, running on in, trying to find those picks however you can, but not a recipe for success. So first round attack is not going to go their way, and I would hope we would see a little bit better just kind of getting in, getting that established push under your control first before having to resort to that.
Yet again, it's those small mistakes being brought up to SSG Academy, and they're going to have to attack the basement bomb site. And lucky for them, there is no breach denial for that main wall. But the problem is, if you want to get that wine wall facing garage, you're going to have to go through 6 impact tricks. So we could see that wall effectively, if those impacts are safe and used enough, that wall just be completely closed. So actually, double reinforced wall on that wine site surely will be open, though that's not going to be able to be impact tricked, as you have a thermite and surely to get that open. But it's really up to just what SSG Academy wants to put all of their cards on, what they want to put their utility on, what they want to put their hard breach on. They have plenty of it. They have an ace, they have the thermite. Compared with that, they have vertical play. They don't need to send the puck in. They can just send a drone in and get the vertical play. They don't have to put that player on the side of the puck in a very compromised position. Hacker being thrown out very early on. They have identified him, but not in a position to actually get the tag onto him. But actually, it's Bill to get the very first kill onto Packer. Bay upstairs gets the refrag in a very powerful position, but is not aware of Bill in that position. Bill getting his second in the round. And now it's all up to Bino, Inreal, and Booze. And with a minute 40 left, SSG Academy in a really good position, but they don't know where these last couple of players are.
There's still at least one more player up top, but Bino is going to lose his life to Anki. So now that last player who's having to just run all the way down blue stairs, group up with Inrio. They're running out of real estate to actually play this advantage. Inrio almost gets taken out by that long angle, but they still have the shield to play with over towards Pillar. Woos is going to take off Anki's head, so at this point, they know where the presence is coming from SSG. They just need to repel it. Vocal is going to go down. Inrio trying to toss out an impact, does get the confirm. So even though he's blinded, they brought it back to even.
Not only have they brought it back to even, but Baring is in a situation where essentially he's alone. His player cannot really rotate. He's just going to continue to hold that hatch, but Baring just walking right through sight, trying to find a player. He finds Woos, is looking for the second, and he eventually does find it. Bill going huge and gets either a 4 or 4K and ace. And finally, in this series, SSG Academy have found an attacking round.
And again, just another showcase of they make it so close when they had all of the advantages that they needed to just secure that round win a lot easier. But overall, just kind of just fell apart at the final execute stage. They just try to clear out that shield, but they don't burn all the utility to allow Focal to not play behind it. So you're really just giving the advantages to him. And then you're just running straight into the headlong defense as they're grouped up. And then just have to essentially play those trade potentials. Eventually it does work out in SSG's favor because that player, the Gridlock, just walked straight up in the middle of the bomb site, takes out that first player of Woos, and then swings onto that pillar player behind the shield. So eventually you clean it up, but again, just small mistakes, making it closer when you had a great advantage. It was a 4v2 at a certain point, or 3v2 rather, and you had a great position with the hatch open to just secure that round win, try to get that pillar plant, but it comes down to them not clearing out that pillar shield and make it so much harder on themselves.
Yeah, and it was really just, a lack of, I wouldn't even say utility, just honestly bad timing. they threw all of those flashbangs, or rather not flashbangs, but they threw all of those nades, and they should have thrown the flashbangs initially to, clear out that Jaeger utility, and it was just really unlucky use of utility. But for this round, SSG Academy will be, or Aerial Rise rather, will be taking us down to Bar Gaming. And SSG Academy will have to deal with attacking essentially the whole entire map. Hacker on that Solus yet again playing in Trophy, not getting a whole lot of utility, but still in a position that he's going to have to be cleared out. For now, he's not getting too aggressive, just going to be just sitting there waiting to strike back if he's given the opportunity to. And so far, his position has not been revealed. And oh no, AQ almost could have lost his life if he just wasn't a little bit more careful. And Bino still choosing to be in this spot. Shirley is about to be droned out though. Just any second now, and there he is. That's the drone, and he will fall back. Actually, no, he won't fall back. Opting to potentially get a C4 kill here, but he just misses it. Enki still unaware of this player prone, and for now, not a whole lot of happening.
Just so much happening, but nothing at the same exact time. Just so much pressure being established over towards that mudroom window. Enki can't sit comfortably because he's being picked everywhere. So they know the Aerial Rise are trying to find this opening pick, but they don't seem to know exactly where they're sitting. They're trying to get this information, but can't find anything to actually work with that they can actually secure that opening pick. So now Aerial Rise are just pressuring them every single step of the way, making it harder for them to get into the building, wasting even more time. Minute 15 left in the round, and what have they really gotten for themselves? They haven't really secured anything, especially on this top floor library take.
Yet again, we're seeing SSG Academy struggle, not being able to find a whole lot, and Vil being shut down by Bino getting the very first pick. Legion still being undroned, and followed up Woo's getting a second one onto Aimkey. Bino with a double kill so far in this round now puts Aerial Rise in a 2v5, now make it a 1v5. Hacker shutting down Barring, and now it's all up to JetCon on relatively almost half health. No control of case. 35 seconds left. They know exactly where he is. Wooz is going to shut him down, and that's a flawless round for Aerial Rise. And SSG Academy yet again are starting to struggle on this attack.
And they just couldn't get anywhere. There was just so much pressure being established very early on. They're trying to find the information, try to find the picks, but every single time they get a drone, there's a player from Aerial Rise either tossing out a C4, getting ready to peek, but then just nothing else happens. That entire time, SSGs just seemed a little bit scared to take that opening engagement because they know that if they lose it, they're just going to have a hard time taking that top floor roam. But then if you don't find anything, you're just wasting more time. Gets down to crunch time with a minute left, and they just have to force their way in because nothing top mezzanine worked, nothing cases hall worked. You just have to send it down the 45 hall and then hope you win their gunfights onto that stairs player. Doesn't work out, so you just give Aerial Rise exactly what they want, another round lead with them forcing a timeout out of SSG ACAD. I definitely like this, but they just need to figure out what's the next step because your attacks so far haven't exactly looked the cleanest. You win one round and then just follow it up with another one where it's just like, okay, Aerial Rise have the clear advantage in this.
It's the definition of taking 2 steps forwards and then falling back 5 steps. Every time SSG Academy, even in the round can, every time they get either a pick, or either map control, they start to either fall off or just get really slow and not do a whole lot. And it really goes to show that they're still struggling on how they want to approach playing against Aerial Rise, and how Aerial Rise, even though it is a very close round of being 4-5, they still do seem to have control on overall how they play. They're forcing SSG Academy to continue to play their game. And as we've seen in previous rounds, in previous matches with SSG Academy, when they're forced to play somebody else's game, not only do they struggle, but they tend to lose rounds and even maps. Aerial Rise, sure, they're only one round up, but they're still 1 round away from max overtime. And Hacker finding this kill, and initially he was 1-7, now 3-8, slowly but surely coming back on the scoreboard, but definitely giving a lot of utility and wasting a lot of time.
And just a small quick little update from our B stream, SBL was able to win their match against Coastal Gaming 2-0 fashion if you weren't watching that already and joining us now. So winning that out, whoever is going to win this series, it's going to be a date with SBL in the grand final. So just a matter of if SSG bring this back, send us to a map number 3, or if Aerial Rise, like you mentioned, only a round away from match point, just making sure that they can secure their advantages and waste more time. Packer just droning things out, being a nuisance with the Solus and just shooting all this drone utility. But he's being cut off by a player top mezzanine stairs, but he may be able to actually sneak his way back to the bomb site now.
But it doesn't matter because Aimkey finds the very first pick onto Woos, opening the round for his team. Just trying to find anyone else forging back, but SSG Academy has effectively pushed all of the defenders back towards site. They're just reassessing, trying to revive, but it's actually Inroad to reassess the entire game. Followed up by Bay, but Focal shutting it down, tying it up yet again to a 3-3 man count just halfway in the round. So much action has gone, and so many dire players also now off the round count. But now, Hackstar himself, still roaming on that basement. He's going to be a threat, but he has to play his position at the exact correct time.
They can't really find a safe pathway in towards this piano hallway area. Bill can't move his way in towards office outside of that small little breach opened up by Flores, so they're just waiting things out, trying to secure that advantage, clear things out. But look how far back Aerial Rise are playing this now. They're all the way back towards Solar, just wasting that time, forcing SSG to clear things out even more, drone things further, make sure that every single angle is clear. And Packer on the flank behind everyone. They're not going to be expecting this, but he whiffs the shot!
It followed up by Bino, effectively making up for those missed shots from Packer, and now Bino and Bay in a 2v2, now make it a 2v1. Bino and Bay, it's all up to Bill, the player that's put SSG Academy back in the series and game, but he's gonna have to do it a little bit more, but it doesn't matter because Bay shuts it down and puts Aerial Arise on match point or map point yet again.
And just heartbreaking, and to see how just SSG have the right idea, but they just seem to be still continuing to struggle to actually clear at the main heart of the defense by Aerial Rise. They do a lot better of a job, make it closer, but just not having an idea that Packer's even flanking them. If he doesn't whiff that shot, that's an even more secured round by Aerial Rise, because of the fact that they're just not playing things as a team. They're just allowing Aerial Rise to get aggressive, find picks back when they start off on a disadvantage. Because of the fact that they're just not peeking everything all at the same time, they seemed a little behind on the information, and then just allow Aerial Rise to be aggressive, be that driving force to get back into the advantage, and then secure it once they finally get SSG to actually commit to the top floor push.
You made a great point there. SSG Academy isn't necessarily being forced to play Aerial Rise game. They're kind of just letting Aerial Rise play their own game, and that's why they've been losing these rounds. And sure, this is a better round count on the map before, but yet again, Aerial Rise is just one map away. And on Kitchen, which SSG Academy on this map so far has struggled with immensely. And if SSG Academy want to potentially put themselves back onto overtime and even put themselves back into this series and get themselves into Oregon, they have to be nearly flawless. They cannot make any mistakes. They cannot gloss over any small detail. They have to make sure they check everything off in row. Very aggressive position, but is not going to be able to get that player on the side of JetCon unless he shoots outside. He does hear the rappel, but doesn't look like he's going to get it, and no, he doesn't. JetCon just flying away, but it's actually JetCon to turn around and get the very first pick onto Inro. That is a really good start for SSG Academy.
That's just tough for Adria, just not looking nearly hard enough up. So he loses that pick to JetCon, which he was trying to get initially, because JetCon was so close to death so many times, he just had no idea about it until the very end of things. And now finally, they get that man count advantage. That was a weird noise. Okay. Anyways, they're starting to try to clear out this top mezzanine area, deal with that Flores drones, deal with the debuff barriers in the way, but we've seen it time and time again. Once they get to the actual setup by Aerial Rise, they really struggle to pick things apart and then allow Aerial Rise to get back into these rounds just by being a little bit more aggressive. But Wu's being flamed out on these stairs. He has two players ready to swing him now.
And not only does he get a pick, but he's able to run away, eventually being refragged by Bearing. but it doesn't matter because yet again, halfway into the round, we find ourselves in a 3v3. Arial Rise still on match point. They still having control of Library. Hacker still upstairs. Remember, this bomb site is in Library. JetCon, Barring, and Focal. The last 3 players of SSG Academy. We see Baring upstairs on the top of Highway trying to find a player, but it looks like a lot of these SSG Academy players are somewhat disconnected. Bino is going to be this player on the front lines they have to clear out if they want to effectively get this round back. They're going to swing him. Baring does get the kill onto Bino, but Packer refrags onto Baring. Now all up to Packer and Bay versus Jet and Focal. Bay coming back to site, trying to support his teammate. JetCon disconnected from his teammate on Repel, just trying to find anything with 30 seconds left. SSG Academy just cannot find any players. Packer in a crossfire, but it doesn't look like the SSG Academy players are aware they have a crossfire onto this player. Even if he is taken down, Faye still has this mirror position. Packer is effectively down by Focal. Now, all up to Bay in a 2v1 or a 1v2 rather. Faye shooting his shots, but it's just not enough. JetCon shuts it down. In SSG Academy making their way back up, only 1 round away from sending us into overtime.
And really, they only win that round off of just a little bit of over-aggression by Aerial Rise. I'm not sure why at that point in the round that Packer is just swinging out a little bit into Solar. That's just curious, even though he is getting lit up from the bathroom window. You know that they're going to be having to force their way through Solar. So, I mean, I guess that's the kind of idea, get ahead of it, just peek that angle before they do, right? But still, just kind of works out and for SSG that time around, so just kind of leaves the last player of his army in the middle of Master trying to pre-fire the doorway before they get in with a time crunch scenario, but it doesn't work out. SSG just, again, just could not pick apart that entire top floor defense, make it as close as possible, but having to come off of just pure raw gunpowder to power their way through and get into a scenario where they can win, possibly win that round and eventually do. But that is, again, we said it time and time again, it's not a recipe for success. They need to actually win these rounds decisively if they want to have a chance to win this in overtime, because that's gonna be their only opportunity now.
SSG Academy, 1 round away. Last time they found themselves on this round count playing against this site, they were up 6-5, and they were the ones defending. But this time around, they're on the other side, on the other edge of the sword. Bino getting aggressive, Aerial Rise continuing to be the players, to be the team, to take their sword out first, to push themselves onto the front lines. They're going to be able to fall back, not getting too aggressive, realizing they need to play a little more passive, need to reserve themselves for later in the round. SSG Academy just looking to set up their overall split attack onto Library, and this is the problem. This is the position they have to clear out if they want to effectively push onto site. This is the answer. Can they clear out top mezzanine and Library?
And right now, they're just having to deal with the presence that is being established by some of these roamers. They're wanting to go direct, but what is the idea? They seem to be wanting to go open up that stock wall from down below, but there's still presence from down below from Packer on the Vigil, sneaking his way through the blue hallway, so he's able to kind of be in a prime position, but they know he's not cloaked at the moment, so he's gonna have his position figured out, just gonna have to give it up for the time being, allowing SSG to open up that stock wall if he doesn't repeat it later.
Not only do they have access to that stock wall, but the problem is they still don't have positions ready to push onto this Library position. Aimkey is trying to find a player in sight, over swings and is punished by Woos. Woos getting the very first pick onto Aimkey. That is a very big pick. That is now all of that Capital utility gone. Bill's going to be looking to get aggressive, opening that wall, trying to somewhat distract maybe the players in sight, trying to make up for losing that very first pick, but so far, SSG Academy have not been able to find anything. They continuing to find everybody, followed up by Bino and SSG Academy, now in a 2v5. Baring trying to make it up, getting into sight, but is eventually punished by Bay. Bay getting a double in this round. It's all up to Focal in a 1v4 to push his team into overtime. He doesn't see the player. approached by Bino, coming up the stairs, does get the pick, does get the second one on to Packer. Now in a 1v2, Bino saying GG's, but it may not be over yet. Vocal, with 38 seconds left, has complete control of upstairs. Does find the line of sight on to Unreal, but just cannot find the shots. He has the case. They have the intel on him. They know he's dropped. He's going to have to swing in and find both of these players, maybe potentially get bombed down. He is aware that there is a player behind bar. He does see him, but it doesn't matter because Bay shuts him down. And Arial Arise coming into this looking like the unfavored side, but they win 2-0 and send themselves into the XGS Spring Burst Final.
And just heartbreaking in the way the SSG keep making these things so close at the very end of these rounds, but just cannot find the winning factor, give them that edge over Arial Arise, who win this 2-0. And just they cannot seem to penetrate that defense that Arial Arise has set up. They just keep fumbling on the initial entry and just can't find their way in, and it kept causing them so many attacks where if they had won the initial pick, it got actually some significant map control. Maybe those rounds are a bit more decisive, but they keep ending up close due to the fact that they have to run in, get those kills, and then make it towards a possible round just off of gun skill. But Arial Rise so far seem to have the better guns, even with Packer sometimes whiffing his shots, even as he admits himself. Just overall, very, very tough loss for SSG.
Yeah, a very tough one, and especially on their map pick. Losing it out, they were so close, just one round away from sending it to overtime. But Arial Arise finally have looked like they've figured out all of their problems going into the grand final against SPL, which is effectively a pro team with pro players. So they're not going to be able to really run away with it going into this next match. But nonetheless, Arial Arise just looked really good, just throughout both maps, just taking control and staying in control of the series and of the maps. Just a really great showing from Arial Rise and a breath of fresh air. You know, we were really worried after Poison left, you know, after the whole roster shuffle, and after losing 2-0 to SSG Academy earlier this week, they answered back with the exact same scoreline, but reverse.
That's the biggest thing, is just that they seem to have figured out what they do well as a team and then excel upon that even further, just having a bit of aggression, but also having the fundamentals to play as a structured team at the same time. Because, I mean, looking at some of these highlights, a lot of this is just understanding the scenarios that they're in. Okay, SSG need to peek me here, but I'm just going to peek them first, get ahead of them while they're just kind of throwing off SSG overall, and then SSG can't really seem to bounce back from it. So Arial Rise having the better understanding of what they need to do every single round and then secure those advantages when they get them.
Yeah, and you know, Arial Rise, you know, so far, you know, in the playoffs, 2-2-0 games. And on the side of SBL, same exact same. Both teams going into the final now have won both of their playoff games 2-0 in a very flawless fashion. But for Arial Rise, less, you know, definitive than SBL had earlier today, as you saw. But nonetheless, still a very great showing. And as I said before, you know, these players know each other. They've played ranked. They've been playing with each other before many times. So it's, while it is a new roster in recent time, what we've seen, they know each other. And, you know, obviously after a couple of days, they figured their stuff out. And before we go off tonight, we got a little special treat for you. We're going to be interviewing Packer right now. How you doing, Packer?
Hello.
How you feeling after that?
I'm so ass. I'm so bad. Dude, I clocked out so hard after, like, I just couldn't. I don't know. I was just having fun the last map. Like, the first map, they don't know what they're doing, attacking. Same thing, second map. It just, like, I'm literally just trolling for my team, and we still somehow win. Like, I was so clocked out. I'm fucking horrible.
Yeah, you know, feeling yourself, you know, and before coming into this match, roster mania, both happening in T1, trickling down to T2. How did that affect you? You know, finding your way, you know, from, you know, the, you know, between T1, T2, finally finding yourself a team on Arial Rise. You know, how's that really gone for you guys and the players on Arial Rise?
It's been going great. I mean, for these, like, it's been pretty for XGS. Like, I think we're just together for XGS, but like, I'm having fun. I mean, we're winning, like, against, like, apparently these are like top T2 teams, while these guys literally don't know what they're doing. So I mean, I'm excited just to keep playing and keep improving and never, hopefully, ever whiff on a Ganado Kami again.
Yeah, at the end of the day, this team really looks like it's just you guys are just trying to show your individual skills. Obviously, you trying to work your way back into T1, definitely deserving coming off that wild card position. But going into this game, did you think it was going to be as easy it was? Obviously the score count didn't say, but just in the round around, it didn't really look like they ever had control of the series.
I watched their Osiris game right before this, just because I was bored, and they don't know how to attack. And I mean, to be honest, you need to learn how to attack to win in this meta. They couldn't even get more than 2 rounds on I think either map. So I mean, I'm all with what they're doing. But I mean, it's just I'm not surprised by anything, to be honest. They just don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it really did look like you just, knew exactly what they were going to do before they did it. But before we do end off and before I send you off to your grand final tomorrow, do you have anything to say to the fans or maybe rather the haters?
I'll be ready for tomorrow. I won't whiff again, and we'll be at the newest T1 team.
The newest, I got you. You got to play against Poison. You never want to play against Poison at a grand final. But nonetheless, I wish you the best tomorrow in the grand final, and have a great night.
You too. Have a good one.
Well, that was, nonetheless, talking to Packers always funny. Definitely a character. And, as I thought, so he just was simply just trolling. And he was allowed to. And, as he said, so far from what they know, this team, this roster for Aerial Rise is just staying for XGS. So, it's kind of a last dance going into tomorrow rather than SBO most likely will be staying together.
Yeah. That would definitely seem to be the case, and just looking at the pathway you kind of highlighted it earlier, both of them have been winning their matches 2-0 to get to the grand finals, so some more decisively than others, but I mean, I'll definitely be holding Packer to his word that he won't be whiffing tomorrow, because I am casting it, so if he is whiffing, I will definitely get onto him for it, since he's already claimed that he won't be whiffing, but I digress. Both of these teams have looked so good getting up to this point that just a qual team versus an invited team, it's definitely a highlight of just what is the kind of overall way to play this game, because I mean, Poison going up against this old team of Aerial Rise is definitely going to be a very interesting match to watch.
Oh yeah, most definitely interesting. And both teams have not really played against, really bad teams. SSG or Academy, a great team. While they didn't exactly show up in that second matchup, they were still a formidable opponent. Before that, Valkyrie, obviously still a 2-0, but still, a T2 team, a very high tier team. And then for SBL on the other side, playing against a Mexican T1 team in Coastal Gaming, which before today looked amazing. So both teams, honestly, really evenly matched up. It's just honestly going to be if Packer whiffs or if Spiff whiffs.
Is that really what we're kind of coming down to? Is it Packer whiff or Spiff whiff? Is that going to be really what we decide? I hope not. I hope everyone's shooting tomorrow, but this should be setting up for a very exciting grand final. I'm very excited to get into that.
Oh, very excited. But for tonight, that will be all for us. The grand final in the end of the XGS Spring Burst will end tomorrow. You'll see Sirius in that grand final. A best of 5, keep in mind. So a lot longer. You don't see a whole lot of best of 5s, especially in the off season. So it's definitely going to be a great night. But until then, we'll be going. Hope you guys have a great night and enjoy the grand final tomorrow.